Welcome to our channel Electronics on Wheel, and thank you for your support. Please like, subscribe and comment if you like the content of this channel. So today's question for interview is, what is the clearance management in wiring harness routing? So this is the second answer or second video in the continuation of the first video, where many of you have asked us to create the next video where we have discussed about the clearance management, what is the clearance management and how we have to keep the clearance uh, compared to other components. So here some of the more example I am going to give you on the clearance what we need to keep in the wiring harness routing. So you can see the content. So today we are going to discuss about 0 clearance. 0 clearance is nothing but the you have no need to maintain the clearance against any other component or the surrounding components. So this is the first one. Then we will discuss 5 clearance, 10 clearance, 20 and 25 clearance, some of the examples and how they looks in the actual vehicle. 50 clearance and 150 and 200 clearance. So let's start with the 0 clearance, where you have uh, no clearance is required. So first is the when you have the non-moving surface. So what is the meaning of non-moving surface? Where your harness is lying on the particular uh, plane, or you can say particular floor, and this is already tied or fastened with this particular sheet metal itself. So you do not require any clearance. Of course it will be touching all around the sheet metal or the surrounding. Second is beneath of the channel or trough. So inside the channel or trough, suppose this is your channel or trough, and inside this, if you are moving your wiring harness, so here you have no need to maintain any any clearance. Of course, it is going to be touch that particular channel. However, I will tell you in some of the videos that how much bundle diameter need to be keep inside this channel. Okay, that is there is some calculation we have to do. Based on that, you can decide the bundle diameter to keep inside this channel. Then third is when you do not have no relative swaying of the bundles. So bundles are there, you can see here. This is one bundle, suppose. Sorry, this is one bundle and this is the another bundle, and they are tight together, or tightened or fastened together. Then you have no need to maintain any clearance in this case, because they are all together and they do not have any dynamic movement as well. So no relative movement. So in this type of cases also you have no need to maintain the clearance. So these are the few examples of the 0 clearance where no clearance is required for the wiring harness. Now moving to the 5 clearance. So one example here I take you. So suppose this is one my ECU, that engine control unit. So you know that in an engine control unit, that ECU, you might be having multiple connectors, right? So one connector is there, a second, or take one example here itself. So one connector is there, second connector, third connector, and this is the fourth connector. So when you are maintaining when you are putting your wiring harness here, then at least you have to maintain the 5 clearance between the same component. So suppose one bundle is coming here and one bundle is coming here, then at least you need to maintain 5 you can maintain more also, but 5 is the minimum clearance you need to maintain. Here also you need to maintain at least 5 clearance. So what will happen when you are assembling this particular connector? So you should have that much space that you can assemble that particular connector. That is also one reason, DFA or DFS, design for assembly or design for serviceability. And suppose if you are taking out this particular connector, then also you need some space to take out, right? So that you have the hand access. So that is also one reason why we need to maintain the minimum clearance between these connectors when they are mounted on the same ECU. Okay, even that you need that much clearance. So this is the second example of a 5 mm clearance, then moving to the 10 mm clearance. So earlier also I have explained this. In 10 mm clearance, the first is sharp edge made of plastic or metal, then you have need to keep the some distance, that is 10 mm clearance is minimum. So some of the OEM also followed 20 mm as well. But if you have the protective covering, okay, then you can go with the 10 mm clearance. Suppose if you do not have the protective covering, right, then you should go to the 10 mm also. However, I have written here unless protective covering is applied. Sometimes what happen, this is your sharp edge, right? In sharp edge also there is a some provision that you can provide the rubber beading. Rubber beading is nothing but which makes these sharp edges less harmful to other component. Okay, so we are right now here, sorry, we are now right now we are talking about this wiring harness. So if I put the rubber beading on this sharp edge, then it will not be that much harmful if you are using without rubber beading. So rubber beading gives a protection, you can say. So this is what we are saying. Or suppose if you have given a sleeve, okay, or the I have given the protection classes where you can see re- reflective sleeves we have, right? So that can that can withstand with the sharp edge as well, okay. So in that those type of cases you need to take care that how you are going to manage this. So if you have the protective covering which can withstand on the sharp edge, then you can ignore this 10 mm clearance. But if you do not have the protective covering or protection which can stand with the sharp edge, against the sharp edge, then you need to maintain 10 mm to 20 mm of clearance. That is the, you can see this is how, that is how if you don't use any protective covering, then this is how your corrugated tube will be damaged. And your wiring harness will also get damaged, and it will not do the proper functioning. So this also you can see here. So this is one example. Then going to the second example, between two moving components or between a moving portion. So suppose you have the suspension, right? Suspension is a moving portion, or sometimes your steering column also, right? Steering column also is a moving part. So in this type of cases, you need to take care that first is steering column, then this is suspension. Okay. So in this type of cases where you have the movement, okay, of the uh, particular component, then you need to make sure that you have the 10 mm of clearance. Okay. And you have to do the analysis also in the DMU, digital mockup. You can do the analysis that how far it can go, and you can apply the protective covering accordingly. So and if you see here, this is one example of trough we are using here. So you can see when there is a no provision of keeping the wiring harness or giving the support, that particular portion also we are giving the troughs, right, or channels. So here we will we have to make sure you can see the protection they have given. So these type of things, so one thing is very clear, that when there is a protection, then you can ignore those that clearance value. But if it is no protection, then you have to go with the clearance whatever it is defined as per your standard. Every OEM might have that particular standard, and you can go ahead with those standards. Then 20 to 25 mm clearance. So 20 to 25 mm, any moving part which is rotating or vibrating like engine block. So suppose if your harness is mounted on the engine itself, then there is a no problem, right? If it is fastened or tightened on the engine, then you cannot maintain like 20 and 25 mm. But if your harness is going through the going over the engine and it is not tightened or fastened to the engine block, then you have to maintain 20 to 25 of clearance between engine block and your wiring harness. Second is seat metal clearance holes for the harness pass through need to be 25. So suppose these are my um, holes, okay, through which my harness is going to pass. So you have to maintain at least 25 clearance for these holes, okay. So you might be having one question that already the grommet we are using. So definitely if you are using the grommet, then you have no option, right, to maintain the clearance, correct. But you just make sure that when you are using the grommet also, that your wire bundle is at least having this 20 or 20 of clearance between this edge to the wiring bundle. So this would be a part of grommet. This will be a part of grommet, and then your bundle will be coming like this. You can see here the example also. This is your grommet and bundle is going, so still you will be having this much of surface. So that surface at least you try to maintain 10 to 20 still. Now moving to the third one, that when you have the fuel lines or brake fluid lines. So you have these are your brake fluid lines. So when you are routing your harness, so you have to maintain at least 25 of clearance between these brake lines or fuel lines, brake fluid lines. So you can see here, these are the some of the examples. Here you have the fuel lines. So here we are routing the harness. So here also you need to maintain your 25 of clearance from the uh, brake fluid lines. Then 50 clearance. So 50 clearance, suppose one example we are taking the radiator hose, okay. Radiator hoses, you know that they are the hot surfaces and they have the good amount of temperature. So in that condition, minimum distance need to be avoided for damaging the wiring harness or connector from the hot surfaces is 50 If you have some protection, then you can reduce, but if you do not have any protection, then you need to maintain the 50 In this case you can say that there is no clearance, but you can see this is the protection which they have given here to avoid any damage to the wiring harness. This is your wiring harness and this is your radiator hose pipe, okay, this and this, and this is the protection they have given. So these are the things you need to take care when you are routing your harness. So this is all, the decision making, and you are trying to decide what you have to do, and this is already a engineering decision you have to take, okay. It is not like everywhere you are routing like anyway. This is how you have to do. Then 100, and 200 clearance. So minimum distance needed to avoid the damage the wiring harness or connector for the exhaust manifold and turbocharger catalyst converter is 100, 150 and 200. It depends on the temperature. So if I take from this is my exhaust and this is going till here, all right. So this temperature would be varying, right. Somewhere it would be a 300 degrees centigrade, somewhere it might be 700 degrees centigrade, somewhere it might be 150 degrees centigrade. So based on the temperature you have to maintain the 100, 150 and 200 of clearance. If you do not have any seat uh, s- heat shield, okay. If you do not using any heat shield, then you have to maintain these distances at least. When you are using the heat shield, okay, then you are providing a protection, then you can vary based on the thermal analysis. We call it thermal analysis. Based on the thermal analysis you can vary this distance, okay. So if you get something from this video and it increases your knowledge, please like, subscribe, comment on this channel. Thank you.